What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Warcast. This is a Center Beacon podcast. This edition, I sat down with some pretty well-known players, both on Android and iOS. I had a conversation with Stew Pendous, Wiggle Monster. You should know those two from Android, as well as the Destroyer from iOS. And we covered several subjects, and you guys can check that out now and give a listen if you have some free time. We're in about an hour, so if you have some free time and you're not doing anything, just pop in the headphones and enjoy this edition of the Warcast. Like, you know, the other people, and you know me, dude.
No one's gonna know.
Yeah,
yeah,
know
like
me.
Ash, he's like not even on right now. Like, you know, get him in there.
Yeah, no, he's on and Destroyer's not. Destroyer will be here in a minute. So I don't know if you guys
really?
are you familiar? Ash is Wiggle Monster. I don't know if you are familiar.
Oh yeah,
with him.
sorry, I thought that was Destroyer. How's it going? Wiggle Monster?
Hey, what's up, man? We have played together before.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I remember. I think the first time we played together, it was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Uh-oh.
You're still in Smiles, right?
Here's the guy from iOS. Quick, everybody, you know, act
run!
like we weren't talking smack about him.
What's going on? I feel it's an ambush.
Yeah, I know you. You walked into an ambush here. It's three Android guys and then like this iOS outsider.
Oh my goodness, this is gonna get ugly quick.
That could be like its own whole show. You know what I mean? You could just totally do a whole thing on like, you know, the iOS versus Android deal. But we're all friends. We can get along. We have our common interest here. You know.
Like, why are you guys such dicks over there?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is wrong with that?
Yep.
You guys are such jerks.
Yeah.
Meaty faces.
Yeah. Well, and for people who don't know, like, you know, I'll make sure, like, we're going to go around, we're going to introduce everybody and do all that. But, you know, people might not know that you're from, like, the dark side, you know, the iOS side. So,
right.
You know, we'll, you know, they'll be like, why are they so, like, the three of them keep ganging up on this one guy? Like, what is it about this guy that they don't like, you know? So,
Why does he cry a lot?
Yeah. Yeah, you're just, through the next hour, you'll just be crying and hugging your knees as we make you feel bad about your
We were here first.
Your
smartphone
choices.
First.
I know. Well, you know, my dark secret, and Ash and I were just talking about this, my dark secret is I started on iOS. So I came from the dark side.
Right.
Yeah. So I can't even
play on
talk.
both platforms, so I'm partial, half dark, half light, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
See, I see it the other way around.
That's cool.
You know,
In a weird way, that makes Stu the outsider, because I don't think, Stu, you've never been on iOS, have you?
No, I haven't. I'm thinking about getting an iOS device someday, just so I can start an account on that and like play with some of my subscribers and stuff. But yeah, I've never played on iOS before.
See how quickly the tables have
It's a
turned?
hassle too.
I know.
Yeah.
They all want to come over.
We can turn on anyone in an instant here.
Is it true that you have more fun on iOS? I mean, just inherently.
I don't think
it comes from Apple.
Yeah.
They bottle it.
That.
I don't think you can quantify that, but I will admit that people do love them some Apple. Certainly. There's something definitely in the Kool-Aid there that y'all are drinking. And
There's something tasty.
Yeah, and if you guys love it, then, you know, more power to you. I had to escape, you know, and find my way to the light, but yeah.
Sure.
I think both are great.
See, I'm a graphic designer. I'm stuck with Apple. Apple is in my blood.
Absolutely. Yeah, your whole workflow is built around all of their you know, machines and software and whatnot. So yeah, I can certainly understand that.
There's no going back for me. I'm fully entrenched.
Yep, my wife is the same way, man.
You can't just go learn like new hotkeys or anything like that. Like that's seriously, like for your workflow, that'd be the end of the world.
Yeah,
you're not kidding. I actually teach graphic design too, and
nice.
My students,
Nice.
when they have a PC, which every now and then they do, you know, I'm trying to show them something on their computer, and I continually, you know, hit the wrong key because the Alt key is where the Command key is.
Yeah.
You know.
You're looking for that all-powerful Command key that doesn't exist in the PC world.
It doesn't, and so I also have to translate for them. You know, I have to say for you PC users, it's Control Alt Delete. You know, whatever.
For you lesser beings out there. Just hit control.
You unfortunate suckers.
Yes. So let's go ahead and start, and let's kind of go around the table, and we'll make our introductions, because I think most everybody on iOS and both Android are probably going to be relatively familiar with everybody here in one form or another, either as a player, or you host a channel, or you've done something infamous on the internet, and your selfies got out there, or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, something dubious we won't get into, Family Channel. But I think most people probably know Stew. But if they don't, Stew, tell them who you are and what you do, and why on earth I re-invited you to this show. What was I thinking?
Well, so the reason that Warlock re-invited me to the show is because he's a glutton for punishment. And, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. If you guys haven't checked out that podcast, that was the first one that Warlock did on the Center Beacon channel. For my channel, though, I started mine, I think it was in July. And so with my channel, I do live commentary with my videos and stuff, and I don't think there's too many people out there who do live commentary. There's a few people who do like post commentary and stuff, and I mean we've got Adrian's channel, which is a good mix of both. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for my channel, I guess the thing that kind of sets it apart is that I do live commentary with my gameplay, and I'm not the best player out there, but I'm good at explaining things. So I guess that's why I started my channel, or one of the reasons I thought I could, help people out, help people up their game and stuff. And that goes, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who've picked up stuff from my channel. Like Phoenix mentioned that like one time he didn't, think about alternating like thunders, for example, to take down an Ansel shield. Mm-hmm. This was like forever mm-hmm. back. But yeah, so stuff like that. So that's kind of what I do with my channel. And I try to, keep up with my community. I answer and respond to as many comments as I can. So we've usually got a pretty active comment section down there, but yeah, so that's me. That's my channel.
Yeah, that's because you're nice. See, for those of us that aren't nice, we ignore comments, and things like that. And all my stuff is heavily edited because I literally cannot play and talk at the same time except to swear. So there's no way I could do like live strategy commentary because I don't even know what I'm doing while I'm doing it. I just kind of black out, and then I just wake up several hours later and just note the changes in my player profile. But
there's some amount of like silver and gold, and your win percentage went down to like 3%.
Yeah. For the longest time, I didn't know it went above 52%. Yeah, I thought it capped there. I thought I was maxed, but it turns out it goes much higher. But I never see those kind of numbers.
The definition of percentages is real.
So. And a lot of something a lot of people don't know about Stew is Stew Pendous is actually his real name. It's on his birth certificate. It's very strange. I don't know what his parents were thinking, but
it's actually James Stewart Pendous III.
There you go. Yeah, and I don't even know. Can we say Pendous on? I mean, this is PG-13. I'm not even sure. I'm gonna have to look up the FCC regulations on that. I think we maybe just broke some laws or something.
You're gonna have to bleep it out.
Yeah, that's gonna take. That sounded straight like dirty. I don't know. We'll move on though.
Yeah, there's probably some kids watching.
Yeah, I know, right? Way to go, Stu. Way to put the channel in the gutter. Thanks, bro. Yeah, so let's move on to Ash here, better known as Wiggle Monster, and don't ask him what it means or he might show you. So, Wiggle Monster.
Search it on the Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. Oh my God, please don't do that. Nobody do that because that'll definitely get my show canceled and kicked off YouTube. But so everyone probably on Android is probably fairly familiar with some of the top players. Wiggle Monster is certainly among those. So, Wiggle Monster, or I'll just call you Ash since that's your screen name on here. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and maybe your background on Android War Robots.
Originally, I started on the iOS, and I was in the Dominion clan under DMN.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice clan and everything, but at that time they weren't using comms, and at the same time I had Android UI, so I'm like, well, I start an account on Android, and I got further and further on Android, actually more than the iOS side. So I went there. I joined the clan Arc, always rough competition. They were big on comms.
Mm-hmm.
They use comms. By using comms, it helps you in two ways. You get to connect with your teammates better. You get to know. Also, it helps you with strategies and teamwork in the match.
Oh, yeah. Yep, yeah, there's a huge social component to that for sure. Yeah, we really enjoy playing on comms, not even as much for the strategy, but just for the camaraderie. It's just a good time.
Yeah,
So soon
often
after
in our
joining
clan, we're
R,
not even.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, when we get on comms, it's half the time we're not even talking about what's happening in the game. We're just having fun.
Exactly, right? Unless you come across some serious clan.
So that leads us to our next guest, whose voice you just heard. His name is the Destroyer, which is highly ominous. The Destroyer is kind of one of those funny names out there where like everyone has like some version of Destroyer in their name, at least on Android. I don't know how it is on iOS anymore, but everyone you meet is like
Destroyer.
Yeah, like the Destroyer, and like the Spanish guys are like, El Destruido, and all this stuff. It's like everyone is the destroyer of stuff. So, Destroyer, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about your background. You play on the iOS side, aka the dark side. Tell everybody,
right. I guess I'm the dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I started off, it was the same way. It was there was a lot of destroyers. I didn't realize that at first. I don't know why I didn't change it. I just thought, let's go with the irony on this. Let's trademark it.
Yeah.
I think it's the graphic designer in me taking the most generic name and then trademarking it. It's kind of a humorous thing for me. Everyone else is just like, really? That's a really generic name. But I've been playing this game for 2.5 years, got in pretty early, and started the clan that's known as Vox. The actual name is Voice of Death, but nobody calls us that. It's just Vox.
That's disturbing.
And right? Yeah, yeah. So I started it with a player in the UK, Dan. His name is Death's Head in game, and we've been rolling with this game for a long time now, and built a really solid clan of killers. And but it's really, like you guys said, it's about the fun. We have a really good time. I would say, not to brag too much about our clan, but we're one of the more stable clans. It seems like everyone splits and turns into clans here and there, and we've never had that happen. Well, we don't have too many big drama moments, and it's just great to have such a loyal following. It's almost cult-like over here in Vox. No,
I'm sensing a very dark theme to your clan, and now I'm slightly worried because it is sounding rather cultish. Everyone's like the death something, the destroyer. Like our clan is the voice. It's literally translates to the voice of death.
Adrian.
And you guys have all heard Adrian talk, and you know how serious he is. So I mean, he's a great example of one of our guys, and how just we really take it intensely. No, we don't. We have a lot of fun. And any scariness to our names is about where that ends. Other than if you're on the red team, then it's a little scary.
Then it's terrifying. Yeah.
We hope that's the goal.
Yeah, and I'm slightly more terrified now that the veil has been peeled back slightly here. And I'm getting some idea of the inner workings of your disturbing clan.
Right. Well, we do have a Kool-Aid Thursday, and just making sure new members can sample that a little bit.
Okay.
But
well, we won't go any further into those details. Right. Many things are entering my mind right now that I probably shouldn't say on a family channel supported by Pixonic. I probably shouldn't go into get into those weeds. Well, this sounds like it'll be a good show. You guys are all very disturbing people, and I think that'll make for a very interesting show.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think many songs will be sung, and also, full disclosure, no one else wanted to do this. I started reaching out to people like 2 months ago or something. It feels like it was probably not that long ago, but everybody was like, "Nope, I don't like to talk." I'm like, really? You don't like to talk? Okay, like you must, lead an interesting life. So finally,
yeah. And I reached out to a few people as well, and for you in your behalf, and I couldn't get.
I know, because you use the network. You go through the grapevine, and you're like, hey, do you know anybody that likes to speak? And it's like very, very odd how many people were like, no, that's not for me. I don't like to talk. I don't like to express my views or discuss things or have fun. Nope, not for me. Sorry. So that was weird.
Yeah. Then the other issue is they don't speak English. So.
Well, and that can be a problem too. Because I barely speak English as it is. Here. So yeah, you got it.
Didn't you major in English?
Yeah. Well, that's again, you're revealing dark secrets from my past that I would prefer not to get into, Stu. All right, I'm going to have to heavily
sorry.
edit this. I did, technically, yes. I sadly have a degree in one of the most useless fields, it seems, these days, especially no one cares about proper grammar or English or anything like that anymore. But enough about my troubles. Enough about my woes. If you'll notice, too, for those listening and or watching, because there will be graphics and very many amazing flying things once I actually edit this video together. So if you do watch it, it's going to be pretty impressive. So stand by for that. You'll notice the excellent acoustics. That's because you might think that everyone is located like somewhere out in like the boonies or the internets or whatever. No, we're all at my house, actually. I flew all these guys in, and we're actually in my bathroom. So, and there's a reason for that. It's because it has, yeah, it is. It's a nice bathroom. It's kind of small, but it has excellent acoustics. They're the best acoustics in the house that I could get. So
well, that's where a small bathroom's good. You don't get too much reverb, but like just enough where you get like that. It's perfect.
It's all about the show. You know what I mean? I really I'm willing to make sacrifices to put out a quality product. I think that's what separates my channel from some others, is that I'm willing to, stand in a bathroom with 3 other men who are strangers that I don't really know that well, apart from Stew, and with the door closed. And I don't think it's a big deal. It's not weird. So if anyone gets tired,
I will save anymore.
Yeah, Ash is like, Ash, are you there? He's like logged off. He's like, I don't know what I agreed to here, but I'm out. This is weird.
It's embarrassing. He came in here without clothes, and we were like, no, it's not that.
Well,
kind of show.
Yeah, when he started removing his shoes, I got kind of worried, but I wanted him to be comfortable. So if anybody gets tired, we can take turns sitting on the toilet.
Name, Wiggle Monster.
Yeah, especially with with a screen name like Wiggle Monster, maybe the bathroom isn't such a hot setting for this after all. But we're just gonna go with it. All right, we're just gonna push ahead. So we've got just to kind of recap, we've got Stew Pendous, we've got Ash, aka Wiggle Monster, and then myself, of course, the host with the most losses. And we're all from the Android side. And then we have the strangely dark and foreboding Destroyer from the Clan of Death on the iOS side. Like, notice how we kind of were making jokes about, oh, haha, iOS is the dark side, but then all of a sudden here came all this like weird dark cult stuff. So I don't know, maybe we were onto more than we thought there.
No, you guys are correct. I mean, it's just the way Apple rolls, and it attracts a certain set.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It recruits and inducts forcibly a certain set, but we won't get into that. So this is like
all your worst fears are confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for. See, I knew I wanted an iOS guy. I knew that we were going to get to the truth if I brought in an iOS guy. This is like the cast of a bad anime film here. We've got Wiggle Monster, Stew Pendous, the Destroyer, and Warlock. So my name's even ominous. I mean, it even scares me. So there's a lot to talk about.
Is pretty spooky.
Stew Pendous it's one of those where it catches you obliquely, and you're like, what is he really getting at? It's especially if you just say the last name and that's the only name you use, then it becomes highly disturbing. And again, the FCC, I'm not sure if they have any, governings over, YouTubes in America anyways, but good Lord, I hope I don't get a letter or something, a strongly worded email. So we got a lot to cover, and there's a lot to talk about, kind of like I was just going to kind of do like a general state of the game. So there's been so many changes, so many improvements. I feel like they are moving at just a whirlwind pace of adding content and fixing bugs. Kind of, I feel generally improving things. How do you guys feel about that? Where are we at state of the game wise?
Well, I've been playing this game for a really long time, and so I've seen. And it's funny when we say really long time. 2 years suddenly is a long time,
right?
But in this game, it is. And I've seen a lot of the changes that it goes, and I have to say, right now, you have so many viable options, and it hasn't always been that way. There's, and you guys have been through this too, where you've seen it's like, hey, you got to have a boa. If you don't have a boa, 5 of them, you're done.
Yeah,
if you don't have a griffin with it used to be that way, and now there's just so many options. I definitely appreciate that aspect playing in top tier.
Yeah, it's really nice. I appreciate having the options as well, because I get bored really, really fast with things. So I change something up in my hangar every day. and to kind of direct it a little more, I take like subscriber requests, and like people want me to run like the weirdest stuff and everything, and so I've been doing that. And like even running all that stuff, like you're saying, like there's a lot of viable options, and some of them don't make a lot of sense. Like how did that just work? But like, you know, you can make it work, kind of thing. So
that's also a way for
nice.
Stew to blame his losses on his viewers. Sadly, Stew's deflecting there. You know, it's like, hey, turns out this Gecko Griffin isn't so hot, but you know, subscriber request, so I had to do it. So that's why my win percentage is 14%. It's not my fault.
Yeah, I think I agree. The game has been most balanced in longest time. I mean, we've all been through like Age of Griffins only, whereas Pixanic has been slowly realizing that people are not using their weapons or bards, and they've been boosting them up, and you can pretty much use almost any setup and still pretty competitive in any match. So that's really good. The only downside was that a lot of people who spend money to upgrade such bards or weapons, they're kind of upset about it. Stuff is not as it used to be, but overall, it's good for the game.
Yeah,
I agree. I think overall good direction, and I think it's one of the problems like that. I don't know if it's like that big of a problem, but I'm just not sure if they should be maybe letting the dust settle, like not for everything, like bug fixes, all that kind of stuff. Excuse me, sorry. Bug fixes and like everything like that, like they can roll those out as quick as they want, but like with like nerfs and buffs and stuff like that, like it seems like they've been going like pedal to the metal for like when they're going to buff something and everything. But like, I don't know, like it might be better just to like buff it a little bit less, but then let the dust settle, because it's been like so fast, like you've been saying, like everything's been going really fast, and there's been lots of positive changes, and I really like the direction it's going. But I think there might need to be a little bit of calming down there with that kind of thing, like just kind of let stuff sit for a minute, and then as far as those changes.
The cycle's gone really fast lately, and it used to be, the whatever was the most powerful, the thing that everyone had to have. You'd have it for a while, and you could probably max a whole hangar full if you wanted to before that one got taken down. But now, you see aphids, how quickly they came in and went, and now even faster. The Ansel is already being taken down a notch or three. And you're right, it happens. The adjustments that happen where you have bots that are no longer useful, that's always happened, though. I've heard players saying, oh, it seems to be happening. I've just lost all this work that I've done. I invested money. But, man, it's happened from the beginning. And I have over 20 bots maxed that I've done over the last few years, and I don't pay money. I've worked at it through the old-fashioned way, and
grind it out.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I have just so many bots that I'll never use again, most likely, and it happens. I've just accepted that fact and move on to whatever comes next.
Yeah, it's part of making a better game, right? And that I've had a lot of people talk to me about that, or there's always a lot of very vocal people out there too. But everything in the game is available for free. So like when people are like, oh, but the money, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it sucks, if you spend like the money and stuff like that on it, but like you can get everything in the game for free.
Yeah. I'm proof it can be done. I've never purchased anything. And it's not that I don't want to support Pixonic. I admit I did get premium back in the day, where I don't know if you guys experienced this, but it used to be that your points, like to rate in the top 3, you had to have premium. It affected your score. And so back in those days, everyone had to have it. And that, people talk about how they're trying to force you to pay. I mean, the fact they changed that, I was shocked, because they had everyone buying premium, and they were doing it because if you didn't, forget about it. You're never going to get gold, and you're never going to be a top scorer. And it was pay for your points, and that was way worse than anything that I see now. So when people complain, I'm just like, you guys are so naive and young. Oh, it's adorable.
It's so adorable.
Yeah, I'm glad that my own kind of little theory on the game is pretty much echoed by my esteemed colleagues here, because I kind of get into these discussions sometimes. Unfortunately, I know better than to reply to certain comments on my channel. And there are a lot of kind of like negative Nancy types out there that no matter what you do, you buy them lunch and they want to know where's dessert, and all this kind of business. There's going to be no satisfying. But I've definitely had that argument many times with the whole and we actually discussed it on one of I'll shamelessly plug one of my previous podcasts, but we discussed I think Adrian and I talked about pay to play and pay to win and that whole concept, and I don't really feel like this game is. They don't do ads, which is almost uncommon, nowadays in a free app. So to get a game of this quality, that clearly engages, a large, segment of like the mobile gaming population. I mean, they have pretty good numbers. Without ads, I mean, you kind of like, I balk a little bit when people begrudge them, making money during like a holiday event, or the certain things that you can pay for, basically to shorten your upgrade time span, or you can pay for certain things. But like Stu said earlier, and it's the argument I've always made, there isn't anything that I can have for cash that you can't have for patience.
It's totally true, and there are other games out there that you try playing, and I won't name them, but there are certain tank games, for example, I've played, and there's no way that you can get anywhere without paying. Mm-hmm. And when you come back and you play, War Robots here, it's a totally different ball game. The fact that you can get gold in every single match is just, I don't know, it's proof of their generosity. And I think some people, begrudge them how much they give, but it's really honestly quite generous, the way that you can earn things in this game.
Yeah, and I would actually, the one gripe I would have there is I feel like ever since they reduced silver payouts, I feel like that's something that they could really work on. Because it used to be back in the day when they did like the 30%, like your first 3 wins, you would get like this 30% bonus. If you put in a really good game, you could make over like $1 million silver on one game. And now what I get a lot in my clan, and maybe you guys have experienced this as well, I get guys posting screenshots without premium that dumped in over like 1 million damage, had like 5 beacons, played their rear ends off. They lose, and they get like 248,000 silver for 10 minutes of their time. So I feel like that's something that definitely, I feel like the gold is like pretty good. And they've even improved that. And then we're going to get into it here in a little bit, but with the league system, the gold's a lot better now too. But silver is one of those things that I think that if they listen to this, or if they care what any of us think, and I think a lot of players would agree, somewhat of a bump to the silver payouts for the time that you're investing, I don't think would be game breaking, and I think would be very well received by the player base.
I think it'd be cool if they amped up how much you get per beacon.
Yeah,
that's
beacons.
True.
From 50% extra to 100% extra. I mean, that would
make it a percentage.
Yeah, because good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I totally agree with Ash. Like, I think that'd be really good if they did something like that. Like, it just because with beacons right now, isn't it just like 5,000 silver per beacon?
Which is nothing.
Yeah, like that's like actually nothing.
Especially when you're that guy.
It needs to be more of a reward for beacons too, because like that's the first victory condition.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the silver is a bottleneck for new players, and that's where I see the biggest problem, because you want those players to be engaged and continue the game and not feel like they're strangled.
Right.
And I think their goal, their thought, and it's definitely better than the pay for your points scheme. Is essentially, they're hoping silver is the choke point that makes you want to get premium, and I understand that. And again, I don't begrudge them the money that they earn for a really great game that we all love. But it's just the newer players. I wonder if there's ways that they could make that a little easier on them, so that they stick with it. We want to see those players become really strong killers, because it makes the game more fun.
Right, and nobody wants to sort of languish in the lower tiers, with your Cossack and your level 5 Punisher, because you're saving up to get to level 6. Yeah, I feel like for me, obviously we all play at max level. I feel like the max level play, they really need to take a closer look at rewarding more substantially because of the effort put into it. And certainly with beacons as well, because it's all about beacons at max level play. I mean, it happens, but it's rare that you're putting out the other team. It's usually a beacon win, at least it is what we normally experience. So when you're that guy, and solo or team, if you're squatting with your buddies or your clan, or you're out there playing solo, when you're burning bots to get beacons, we've had those games where you get 5, 6, 7 beacons, still lose. You didn't hardly deal any damage, right? You didn't hardly deal any damage because you were burning all your bots to try to get and hold beacons, and you basically get very little in the way of reward, especially for max level play. So I think that's definitely something that they could tweak the silver earnings, and I think we'd all be better off and happier for it.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We all got lucky that we got maxed out hangers when silver output was a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to start over now, struggle to make all that silver.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really good...
All my stuff's level 10, and I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, Steve's like...
one thing...
So yeah, I need that money.
One thing I found is if you don't rush with gold, which I used to do every single time, when I got to the upper levels of that, but I'm finding now that if I don't rush my upgrades, then I can actually keep up with moderate gameplay with the silver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not fair. I mean, that's one of the advantages of being a max player, because it's much easier. I'm not stressed out to get bots up to level so I can compete. Right. I'm just looking to build up, looking for where the game's headed, and I'm working on some new bot or new weapon to sort of,
Yeah, you're getting your wish list builds done, next. Where it's like, oh, I always wanted to have a triple Hydra Fujin just to see, and so you're able to experiment with that stuff. While everyone else is running level 8 patents, and that's like the best bot they have. Yeah.
You have to think from a perspective of a new player. I mean, if new player starts a game today and he wants to compete at max level like we do, it's gonna take him a year, and it's hard to convince him. Hey, start working now, and maybe in 1 year you'll max out and be on the same level that. That's a long time.
Yeah, and that's where
that time.
That gets supported too somewhat by now that there's so many good channel hosts, not myself of course, but people like Stew, Adrian, there are so many good resources that if I had that when I first started playing, you could focus on that first 4 or 5 bots that have been mainstays, and that really, I don't think the Griffin is going, anywhere anytime soon. Yeah. And I always kind of tell people that's my advice.
I think there might be an exodus.
Yeah. Pick a core stable, get your 4 bots and get those suckers to max as soon as you can, of course, along with the weapons, and then go from there. But, what happened to me is I got so far off the rails, I've got 3 or 4 of everything at level 9. And I spread myself so thin that it seemed like it took me forever to max out. So I think that's one of the things that, if they're going to do player tutorials and different things like this, give some actual solid guidance on, hey, pick 4 or 5 bots, and these are some good ones to choose from, and take those suckers to 9, 10, 11, 12, and get that core hanger built as soon as you can. And I think that would pay dividends, and you'd also waste a lot less money, where I have 27 maxed magnums, that strangely aren't doing any much good now.
I always advise my friends to max out their weapons. So pick the weapons that you want to use in the long term, because bots you can always change and put the same weapons on them. Weapons will not be a waste.
Yep, and we're actually going to get into towards the end of this show. We're gonna do some pro tips from the pros, and so you guys be thinking of your best tip for maybe not even new players, because I feel like there's a lot of information out there for them, but maybe even intermediate to experienced players. We'll put out our favorite little tip or trick or what have you. So be thinking about that. But let's get into the meat of what I want to talk about, and some of the newest, most importantest, that's a word, stuff that's been going on in the game here lately. And that's first of all the changes to Matchmaker. I kind of wanted to go around and get your guys' opinions on Matchmaker. I believe both iOS and Android have received the Matchmaker changes. iOS has not yet gotten the league system, And Android sort of got it, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But let's talk about Matchmaker, and how do you guys feel that has gone versus the old system? Anybody want to jump in there?
I can start. Or no, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
I've been pretty vocal about some of the stuff on Facebook. There was a problem. The problem was how it was somewhat being abused. And I'm not trying to call out any clans, but the new system obviously created even more opportunities for abuse. I think as they are seeking to adjust things, players are always going to be looking for those little windows. And to me, the thing that I speak out against the most is just the abuse to brand new players, where we have maxed weapons being used against somebody who has no clue what a beacon is. And so to me, like that's what needs to be fixed still. And in some ways it's worse, because now players can take maxed bots and weapons down if they tank their scores. And I'm not into that whole scene. That to me is hurting the game in the long run, because you got these great players that could be coming up, and they'll probably give up because of that.
Yeah, and that's something that was to the effect of what I wanted to say as well, is that like the changes, I think the direction that they're moving is good. I do think with the way that they're coding it, though, I think the bot and weapon levels do need to be like a little bit more closely tied, so that it's not like all stats, because if it's all stats, and like you said, it's easy to abuse that. Like you just like keep jumping out of rounds for like 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden your stats are like super low, and you can go do whatever you want and earn gold that way or something like that. But yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest thing. I started a second account so that I could like test the matchmaker and stuff like that, and then I also wanted to see like how quickly I could get an account to level 10 and stuff, just so to see if I could like do it in a live stream or something like that. And so I started a new account, and I've been testing matchmaker with it and stuff. And it is very closely tied to stats. Like I check everyone's stats, and I put it in a little spreadsheet, like when I play and stuff, just because I'm curious. So it's frequently like you're within like 50,000 average damage, like either way, like up or down, with like most of the other players. At least where my account is at right now, I have like all level 6 stuff, but I'm always playing against like level 8 to 10 gear kind of thing. So for those players, like they have that gear, but they don't typically like play. I guess I don't know. I don't want to disparage them, but they don't usually play like super well, and so
they're crappy players, Stu. They're crappy. Okay, let's just call it what it is. They're crappy. They're terrible. They should give up. Yes.
So I'm rolling out with my boa with like a Punisher and a Thunder on it, and they've got like a Lancelot with like level 10 Lancelot with a Thunder and Orkans that are similarly leveled and stuff, and they get taken out by my boa, and I'm like, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I think there do need to be some changes, like where the bot and weapon levels still play like any role in matchmaking. Like I still think that needs to be the case, but yeah, the direction I think is positive overall.
I can see what their goal is.
Ash,
matchmaking has improved compared to what it used to be maybe 2-3 months ago, when it used to be pretty low level players versus max tier guys, but nowadays at least like for 90% of the guys in the max level, match has been improved a lot, and it's pretty fair, I think. But yeah, like you guys said, there are some people who abuse the matchmaking, but I think majority of players, they just play fair, and it's been better. And with the new league system, it's supposed to get even better, but we're just waiting for more details.
Yeah, from a purely selfish standpoint, as a max level player, matchmaking has been just fantastic at the highest level. Now, again, not to make light of the situation where if people are tanking their stats, I mean, my brain doesn't operate like that. Like, I couldn't throw a game of hopscotch, let alone like tank my stats intentionally to get like an easier match. That's just, I'm not built that way. But as far as like if you're a max level player and your mission is to play against like the best of the best, I keep making the joke that like every night we get on Android, every night now is like we don't need to do tournaments anymore on Android because every night is like a tournament of the best on Android. You go from like one, top clan to the other, and it's like, after 3 or 4 games, you're like worn out. You're like hands are so you're sweating, you're shaking, you're like, oh, the stress is getting me.
Your thumbs are cramped and like won't move.
Yeah, but I have found it to be absolutely outstanding. Is just from the standpoint of like, we are getting matched against people that are like the best players on Android. And, we go from, Arc to HC to Exile to like, it's just like a murderer's row of clans. And every time, they drop it, it's like, oh man, here we go again. Get ready, boys, buckle in.
I think that's the thing about matchmaking too now, that you have to be in a clan or at least in a full squad to enjoy the game or something. It's pretty harsh on the solo players. I've seen a lot of solo players get matched up versus full squads, and it doesn't go well for them. So you have to be in a full squad or at least a clan nowadays.
True, you lose, you win a few games if you're playing solo, and some of you're matched with these guys that don't know what they're doing. And the other team seems to be, Navy SEALs equivalent.
And on the random squad,
the match too. That's another issue. Like when I rolled a few solo matches last night, at least 1 to 2 of my teammates just left a match in first 30 to 45 seconds, and then they don't get a replacement or anything for them. So it's pretty much downhill for the entire team then.
Yeah, match dropping has always been an issue where, people like they don't like the map, or they don't like, when they see like a full clan drop in on the other side, they're like, nope, later, like I'm looking for, easier pickings. But with the random squatting, I've found also that, except with a couple of occasions, and I'm going to get into some more details here because what we're really talking about, and we haven't said the word yet, is that they're using a rating system. They are very likely using a custom rating system that is assigning everyone. Basically, you get assigned like a value, and so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But with the random squads, even with 6 of us rolling as a clan, we're kind of getting, taken right to the edge, even against randoms. Or it might be like a couple of guys who are squatted together, and then like 4 randoms. But I'm finding even the matches, at least on Android, even the matches against so-called random players, with that rating system in play now, they're trying to find and pick players that match, like, say, like, your heavily, coordinated clan squad to match up evenly. And I'm finding that is also is working pretty well. Like there's been a couple. We had one, I think, earlier today where it was like there was a guy with like a Gepard, and it was like 2 Magnums and a Gecko. And as soon as we saw that, we knew that like a wheel had come off Matchmaker somewhere, because we were like, all right, this is, and we just murdered those guys. I mean, it was ugly. But except for that game, it's fairly well normalized on Android, at least.
We're not seeing quite that.
Weeks. You're not seeing.
We have, unfortunately, not quite as much. No, it's in some ways it's gotten better, but we still see a lot of baby birds coming into top tier.
Interesting,
and it's. I suspect it's because you guys have a lot more players on your side. That might have something to do with it, but it's not always the case. It depends on the time of day or evening. But it's unfortunately not to that level, and it might be because we don't have the full system in play yet. We're still kind of floating on their sort of.
And I wonder
first take on that.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly either, and this ties into what I was getting at with the rating system. But I wonder if you guys got the update for the matchmaking, not the leagues, but the matchmaking. I wonder if that pushed to iOS after it pushed to Android. We might have had it for like a couple of weeks or something. I'm not really sure. But that is relevant in the sense that anytime you introduce a rating system, all of your players basically go into a pool, and they are all assigned a generic rating. They get a beginner rating, and I did a video on this, but then like it was on test server, and then like 2 days later they came out with leagues on live on Android. So I decided not to upload that video, and I'm waiting for the league system to come back up, and I'm sure Android players are aware, but the league interface is currently down. It all still works. It's still there. But the interface, they had some issues with it, so it's currently not on live on Android. But I did a video, and I've kind of set it off to the side, and I'm waiting for these issues to be corrected. But when you enter into a rating system, everyone is assigned a base value. So if you remember several weeks ago, at least for the Android guys, everything was crazy. It was exactly like what you're describing, Destroyer, where we were going up against guys with like day one stuff practically. And
it's not quite that bad anymore. But.
Right. And initially it was, though, especially on Android. And that's because everyone is being assigned a base rating. And then you need to basically play and provide the rating system data in order for it to properly rate your ability, which is what we're talking about. So, it needs several games. So if you come in with, just as an example, I did in my video, like a 1200 rating, it's arbitrary. It's just like when you start chess under an ELO system or what have you. You get a base rating, and then your skills will like either, that rating will go up or it will go down or what have you. So if you come in with a 1200 rating, but you're really like a 600 player, it hasn't gotten that data yet, that's where you're getting fed to the wolves. And that is certainly what we saw on the Android side for, I want to say, probably the first couple of weeks. And I felt like the last maybe week or two, it has really stabilized, and it's been, like I described earlier, nothing but like the best of the best players. So hopefully y'all on the iOS side will be seeing that play out. But it is certainly a system that you have to give time, because I felt like they did a video recently and they did a little white paper that they threw up on like kind of how it's working and what players can expect. But I kind of wish they had done that before they released the new matchmaking, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand that there's a rating system underneath all of this, and it takes time for that thing to accrue data and properly assign values that are actually accurate or somewhat accurate to a player's actual skill.
That's what I've had to keep explaining to people as people, like reached out, like, help me, I can't play anymore, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a lot of conversations about, like, this is a rating system, and so, like, we do have to wait for it to pan out, and, like, the reason it can't happen, like, overnight is because, players need to keep playing. And so if you have, like, a max player who hasn't been able to get on in 2 weeks because he's in, like, Antarctica or something like that, then he gets back on, and then so he's starting fresh in that system, like 2.5 weeks into it, and so it's still going to be screwed up for him and for whoever else is on his team or on the other team. And,
right, because he comes in with a base rating of just 1,200, but he's really a 4,000 rating player. So basically he's getting mixed in with people that like are just not at his level, and he's just eating their faces. And then conversely,
they've already worn the sorting hat. They've already even put it off.
Exactly.
And he's like,
I love the Harry Potter reference. Somehow, every show we do, Stu finds a way to work in a Harry Potter reference. I'm not really sure what's going on there. If you listen to the podcast I did with Stu several weeks ago,
every one of the 2 shows,
he was every one of them. There's been many. I have to make it sound like it's cooler and bigger, like a bigger deal than it is. That's just how this works, and you make it sound like I have this.
It's good marketing. It's good.
Yeah, like, oh, check out my backlog of 3 shows, you know what I mean? But, it's a newer idea, but, I think it's getting off the ground. And Stu, I think, was actually in one of the Harry Potter movies. So look back at that podcast, and you'll learn some disturbing details about Stu's actor past before he was a famous.
Based on his life, right?
It could be it could be biographical. Yes, I believe
Harry
so.
Potter was actually a biography. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think Stu was Harry though. I made the case that he played Professor Crinklesheets in the film the Prisoner of something or other. But Stu has a disturbingly deep knowledge of the Harry Potter books and films. We probably shouldn't revisit that, but I did find it concerning.
I'll keep a lid on it, but they should go back and watch if they want to.
Yeah, but the sorting hat is a very very appropriate reference, and I think that and that's what we're seeing. And hopefully, like I said, on iOS, that continues to pan out. I think that there could be some merit, too, to your guys' idea that, weapons still... Because I don't like the idea of, like, tanking stats to dip down into, like, the killing fields, and I hate the word seal clubbing, but I don't want to get into that whole thing. But, that's kind of, despicable behavior, and I think people should be playing, like, where they are, and maybe they'll need to look at that. Maybe they will need to include weapons.
people during Power Hour that are scoring 150, or more in an hour, and that had everything to do with taking heavy weapons down to people who had no clue. And to me, that too is it's one thing to take out players that don't know what they're doing, but I kind of see that as a competition. I don't play Power Hour that often, but still, I mean, to pull a move like that is just, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's it's good too, because the league system, and we can go ahead and transition into the league system part of this, where they're taking all that out. Player of the day, hour, month, whatever. I didn't realize for the longest time that was being actively gamed. I mean, I guess I'm naive. I always look for the best in people. Stupidly. Bad me. But then people started explaining to me.
I looked at it and I was like, I'm not playing that much.
Yeah, because I used to play it a lot. And it was like, if you got like 76, 80 points, that was like really good. And you were really cooking. And that used to be like a winning score. And then, people started telling me about how, like, well, no, bro, they're gaming the system. You've got guys scoring 100 plus points in an hour, and, they time drop with their buddies and they just smash each other. And, the guys that like run up their damage, you see these guys that are averaging like 1.3 million damage or something and 11 kills a game, and I think you're always going to have that. But I feel like the league system is a good step in the right direction to trying to limit that somewhat. So I'm glad that, and then on iOS, I'm sure you guys have been following like the updates on their Facebook page and stuff, but that is all gone on the Android side as far as like pilot of the hour and all that business, because it didn't really work out like they wanted to. It was too heavily gamed, and the league system is actually replacing that. Now on Android, we don't currently have the league system because it came out, it was out for like 5 minutes. I was asleep. So I missed the whole thing. Guys were talking about like, oh, my rating, and I'm in like, golden flaming skull tier, and and all this like craziness, and I was passed out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, Hufflepuff. That's the extent of my Harry Potter knowledge there. But
I was like, man, I shouldn't have gone to work today. I was keep my work and just play the game. Then I could have participated in the big system.
Yeah. But it looks like a pretty cool little system with many different tiers. And for those that haven't been paying attention or maybe don't know, like I said, they've replaced pilot of the hour, these different things that you could be rewarded for. But now they're doing like challenges. And a couple of the ones that I saw for like the 2 minutes that it was actually up were like, in order to advance to the next tier, maintain like X rating for, like 5 games or 10 games or whatever it was it said. And the payouts were actually pretty decent. Like, there were like, there was kind of like several thousand gold at stake or, other forms of rewards. Yeah. And I was like, that's pretty cool because that's actually pretty challenging, maintain a certain rating. That means you've got to dump in like several quality games, one after the other in order to advance to the next tier. It's almost like a test. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I don't know about you guys, but I received about 2,500 gold from that league system on the first day. I don't know how or what, but I noticed there was extra 2,500 gold added to my account.
Yes.
And I talked to a few other friends, and a bunch of them reported the same thing.
There may have been, it sounded like there may have been a bug because guys were playing like 5 games and getting a big chunk of gold and then playing like 5 more and getting another chunk. So that might have been something that was maybe awry there initially with the release. But we had guys getting anywhere from like 1,000 and change to like 2,500. And I think it depended on that. I believe it was a 5-game qualification, series that you played to enter into the rating system. It was almost like that's the way of it, that they're determining your new rating, and you enter into the league system, into the tiers at that point. And it seems like every time you advance a tier, there is like I said, like a pretty significant gold payout attached to that, which I was pretty excited about. And I hope continues to be the case, because with like even for like Power Hour and all that business, I didn't feel like the payouts were really terribly awesome for, rubbing your thumbs raw for an hour straight or all day or whatever it was.
Yeah, not worth it.
And I think that is the reason why Pixanic pulled back the league system, because the gold output was too much. People were getting 2,500 gold by playing 5 games. That's like 500 gold.
Well, people were ripping it off big time too, and it sort of lost all its meaning. And so I think they're looking for ways to sort of make it meaningful and get players engaged again, and more than just like the 3 guys who really love pushing themselves to the limit and earning the big daily or monthly type things. It tends to be the same couple guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty interested in how also too, and again, there wasn't like a lot of talk about this, but how it's apparently broken up into seasons. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it looks like they're doing like an entry window period, and then once it gets going, it's like they're going to do like 30-day seasons or 29-day seasons or something like that. And I've seen that in other games that I've played, like MMORPGs and whatnot, where they have like a PvP season, and then at the end of the season, you get like the rewards depending on like where you landed in the ranking of PvP players.
Yeah, then the season starts over. Yeah, I got some footage like from the test server. Like I was poking around like in the league system stuff, and I was reading around and some other stuff. And yeah, so I got a bunch of footage, but I've been holding on to mine too to, until we get some more information on it.
I made the whole video, and I was like, I was literally like, like a half hour from clicking on it, and then the whole thing went live, and I was like, whoa, and there were some slight differences, and so I was like, oh man, let me pull this thing back and get a better understanding of what's actually on live. And then, of course, no sooner did I do that they pulled the interface, off of live. So I'm hoping that comes back here shortly.
It's supposed to come back on February 20th.
Okay, is that what they're saying?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I read that.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to that, because I was pretty excited, because I think it's a series of accomplishments if you can like work your way up the tiers. I feel like if matchmaking continues to normalize, I think you're going to get a really good idea of how good a player is, instead of relying on other stats, that can somewhat be manipulated. I suppose this could be manipulated too, because I should say as well, with people who aren't familiar with rating systems, they nothing's foolproof. They have their ways to exploit it. There are things like inflation and deflation, and I don't want to get into all the weeds, regarding that, but there are definitely issues with various rating systems. There's protectionism, like in chess, that was a big one where you just you don't play certain people because you probably know you're going to lose, and you don't want to lose those points, so you avoid them. Kind of like professional wrestling, you don't want to wrestle the champ because you're going to lose, so you're kind of protecting your rep there a little bit. So hopefully they have plans in place to deal with that. And but unfortunately, it seems like no matter what they do, the ne'er-do-wells out there find a way to abuse it or somehow take advantage of it.
There's always going to be some people like that, but that's again very small percentage of the players.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and then there's also, too, on top of the league system is the very ominously named, or I should say symbolized Legends League with a giant flaming skull. So, you definitely want to be, win whatever that is. I thought that was kind of neat. It's almost like a kind of like an alpha tier, on top of the whole tier system for the best of the best. So, yeah, I can't wait for them to get that up and running, fully, and we can explore that, some more.
Yeah, you guys are making me excited for this.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the idea. Talk it up. I think, like we said, in the beginning of the show, that they're definitely headed in the right direction, and there's so much new stuff coming our way. There's so much to talk about in this league system. I'm really fingers crossed that this is going to be. They're never going to satisfy everyone, but I think that this is hopefully going to be what most of us were looking for. But yeah, when you guys get it, whenever the Apple gods, get around to deciding that you're worthy, and they ordain you with the Mighty League system, because the Destroyer this whole time, he's like, "What are you guys talking about? What's leagues?"
You guys are the guinea pigs. You work out all the bugs, and then they give us.
Yeah,
although it sounded like a great bug to have when you get 2,500 gold. I'm like, can we have that?
That's handy.
Yeah, that is about the size of it. Did you guys get? You probably didn't get the CRV pin bug over there on Apple, did you?
Oh my god, that was crazy.
I heard people talking about that.
Oh,
I'm not sure whether we had it or
yes, I mean, of all things,
96k damage in 12 seconds.
What in the world? How do you go from that had to have been like an intern, right? Like somebody was like, they were like, "Hey, bro, finish this coding and let's get out of here for the weekend." And he clicked the wrong series of buttons or something, and all of a sudden, a level 9 pin is the most powerful weapon the game's ever seen. Yeah, that was disturbing.
What was it, like 7,800 damage?
Like
7,800
like per rocket? Yeah,
Per
times
pin.
4, and then, you know, and then
goodness.
multiply
If we run a
that.
pattern,
Yeah,
that's
people were
16
running patents.
rockets.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was...
is 96k damage from 500 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was insane. I was like, I walked out in Shenzhen. I was like, you know, going past a building in my Fury, and all of a sudden my Fury just evaporated. And I was like, whoa, where did my bot go? And then like across the way is a guy running like 3 pins and a Trident on a Leo. And they're like, get that guy. He's got level 9 pins. They're like, get that guy out, you know. Man, yeah, that created a little bit of mayhem.
The nice thing is they fixed it though.
They did,
within 24 hours.
Yeah, they did, and I knew that, you know, they were going to respond pretty quickly to that, because that was indeed game breaking, and everybody got a free upgrade that had level 9 pins. I guess they got pushed to level 10.
They're like, here you go, level 10.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. So, and then that kind of like, I mentioned the word Trident, so this is kind of like the last topic for the show that I wanted to get into. I wanted to talk about the evil, disgusting, just absolutely vile, cowardly, gosh, what else did they call it on Facebook? I try not to read Facebook. It's not healthy.
Dude, I don't even get on those things anymore. Like, there might be like one thing that I see in my newsfeed that I reply to, but like I don't even go onto those pages anymore.
I know, right?
I used to hit them up a lot, but it's gotten so bad.
and one of the most maligned, you know, weapons and bots that you'll see there is the Trident Fury. You would have thought that this thing came to your house and took like a big old dump in your yard and just left like a big steaming pile of poo, like, you know, right on your nicely manicured grass. And I just like, I personally, I don't have a big problem really with any weapon, or, I mean, some things annoy me. I mean, you know, eating a face full of like aphids from a patent, that's annoying, you know, when half your bot disappears in like, you know, 1 second type thing. But it's part of the game. You got to deal with it. But the Trident Fury, as I've dubbed, you know, has been just the vitriol and the insanity, where I've seen people on Facebook talk about, like, you know, how, you know, if you use this, you're nothing but a coward, and you're like, you know, there's no skill involved. So I kind of wanted to talk to you guys.
Absolute.
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinions. Like, what do you think about, you know, the Tridents, the Trident Furies? You know, what do you think about like the question of skill, and what do you think about how it affects the overall gameplay?
You know, there's always been a power weapon.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's always been power weapons. And you know, this I don't see it as too much different. People will maximize on that, and you just have to learn to adapt to the game as it is. I will say, I mean, there are certain maps where it's just brutal. You can't really move if you prefer close combat, and I do. So from that standpoint, that certainly could be frustrating. But I mean, I don't get too upset by it, because again, there's always some power weapon. I'm just surprised it hasn't been nerfed. It seems like there's been so much of that lately. To have it be a powerhouse weapon for so long is kind of surprising. I think Pixonic, close to their heart, is they've always loved, you know, they like pins and tums, and so this is, you know, it's in that vein. And,
I feel like I need Tums after some of these games, honestly. Like, I eat a bottle of Tums. When you've got 4 Trident Furies, you know, on one end of the map, and you know, you just, it's like, oh, my bot went poof again. Well, yeah, I feel like eating a bottle of Tums. But I actually wrote
in those matches.
Right, yeah. I actually wrote like a little an essay, which is you know, something that it's just like a video, except there are no pictures or sound. And
it's actually really good. You guys should check it out. It's on the Center Beacon Facebook page, right? The separate page you made.
Yes. Why, thank you, Stu, for you know, shamelessly plugging my stuff. But I really appreciate that.
It was super well written. I think anyone who's listening to this should make sure to go and read that and check it out.
I just kind of made the case that, like, you know, and again, like Destroyer said, just adapt. I mean, there's always a counter for everything, and the way that I adapted to Trident Furies, even though I have a maxed one and I run it and I love it, I don't care who knows it. I'm professing my love for the Trident Fury right here and now.
It's fun.
Level trebuchets, folks. I did it. I actually have I have a Butch trebuchet going right now, and I eat Trident Fury's faces with that thing. you get popped by 4 max trebuchets, and you don't have much bot left if you're out in the open. So I feel like there's a good counter for it. Also, Malot Griffins are another amazing counter.
I melt with those.
Yeah.
None of my Molots are even like leveled all the way. Like I think my highest one is like a 10.
Even at 10 and 11.
MK2s are lower and it shreds them.
Even at 10 and 11, it's a very effective counter. I have a buddy that runs a maxed Malot Griffin, and I love playing with this guy because Trident Furies don't know what to do with this guy. I mean, if they stand out in the open, and those things are slow and they lumber, and by the time they see cover, he's eaten, a third, maybe half their bot, and it really pushes them back. So I feel like there's always going to be an effective counter. And, but in the article that I wrote, it was just kind of like making the case for like the investment. I feel like if they were to nerf the Trident, the Fury technically already received a nerf. When they did that like hit points balancing business there an update or two ago, the Fury actually has overall fewer hit points than it used to. So it definitely received that nerf. And then there was like the weird thing, and I don't know how it was ever clearly articulated from Pixonic, but now how like your big heavy bots do that weird kind of like that knee dance that they do when they go side to side or you try to change directions. So
they decrease the lower limb turning radius.
Your legs have to actually rotate to you can't walk backwards. They actually have to slowly turn around backwards to walk backwards.
So
they need to change that if you want to talk about things that need to be changed.
And I believe that was intentionally done as a way to make light and even medium bots somewhat more usable on the battlefield. So I didn't have a huge problem with that. On test server, it was way worse. Like if you tried to turn around on like a platform, you would fall off the other side before you got that thing to like spin around and just go back the other way. So it didn't seem like when it went to live, it was terribly egregious. So I don't mind that as much. But for the investment for 3 Tridents for a Fury that's 5,000 gold, I did the math and it's like a 250 million silver to max all that. It takes more than 66 days to max everything, and that's if you don't speed it up with gold, which then only makes the entire process more expensive. So it's a massive investment, and I feel like we've probably hit critical mass where like many players out there are probably on both platforms who have had that thing working in the background. Well, now you're all seeing them because it's such a long haul to max all that stuff. Now you're seeing them, and now it's like, especially if you get randoms, it's 4 or 5 Trident Furies on the other side. And, I can see the frustration of solo players. I'm always recommending people, I'm like, don't play this game solo. Like, find some friends, join a clan, but this game is meant to be played and enjoyed as part of a team, atmosphere. Like, you've got to kind of do this, in order to really fully enjoy the game, the strategy and everything that goes with it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good one individual is, and that's on a team. If you have a coordinated group of lesser players, they're going to win.
Yeah.
And as far as the Trident goes, I think the 600-meter range certainly gives it it forces that range play into more of a realm of it's not quite close combat, but comparatively. And I don't know, you guys. I don't know if you experienced the Kang days back in the day, but this was, early days of iOS. The Kang days were actually a force. They were just as deadly in a lot of ways. I mean, they didn't have the splash damage, but nobody had shields. There was no such thing other than unless you want to strap one and take one of your hit point spots off, one of your hard points. And I just remember that they could hit you from over 1,000 meters. And you had no chance. So, like, at least this, I can sneak up and do an ambush with a Terran Griffin and jump, from 450 meters into range, and pretty much take them out. You might sacrifice your bot, but I mean, it's worth it to kill one of those things.
And that's part of the strategic gameplay too, where you make the sacrifice play. Yeah. That's team-based play right there. Yeah.
Right. And so to me, I don't mind that as much. I mean, yeah, they're probably a little bit overplayed. You cannot play the desert map without just kind of having a back and forth long range shooting match. To me, that sort of ruined that map. It was fun when it first came out and everyone was sort of fighting in the center and kind of coming around the sides. I thought, hey, this is an awesome map. Now I'm like, oh. Because I'm
the
a
only
close.
chance is to flank.
Yeah, now
to just fight fire with fire.
Yeah, the middle of canyon
all I
is
do
just a
flank.
murder field. Yeah.
Yeah, avoid the center. That's what I tell everybody. At least till the
I
last
end up
2 minutes.
sacrificing over and over. Yeah, it's ridiculous on that map. And on those days when I play that map like 3 times back to back, I'm like, okay, I hate them. I have them too. I have them. I use them from time to time, and then there are other times where I'm like, I'm gonna just go all brawlers, and if I get that map, I'm just gonna have to do my best.
Yep.
But
I've done the same thing. 5 brawlers and just hey, forget the long range, or I mean, you call it long range, but like you said earlier, very accurately, it's not long range. It's mid range. It's part of the mid range meta, and the truly long range weapons. I think we're starting to see some people catch on to like things like KWKs. And we're seeing a lot more Trebs, especially from top clans on Android. I leveled a set of Trebs, and then I got that Butch, and so now I got a 4th one going that's cooking in the background. But we're seeing a lot of Trebs. And you get a couple of max Treb Furies or some combination thereof on the field. And on big maps like Springfield, man, you can't move. Those guys will just eat you up.
I will tell you guys this. I guarantee you, they will nerf it eventually, and it will be when they are ready to introduce the next ranged weapon that they want you to buy. And this is, nobody uses Kang Days anymore, but those were the weapon to use, and they nerfed those when they came out with the Trebs, and they wanted everyone to use the Trebs. And we can be mad about that, but I will say this about that whole situation. Playing it for this long, I don't think I would still be playing it if the gameplay was the same and I was using the same weapons I did back then.
Yeah,
it
only
changes strategy.
Change. Yep.
Right. So when they remove those and bring something new in, there's going to be a lot of crying, a lot of salty tears. But at the end of the day,
from me especially, there will be many salty tears. I will be in a bathtub full of salty tears with candles and wine.
Right. We're all doing that right now. We're filling your tub with salty tears.
Exactly.
But it's what's going to keep us playing this game, because now the strategy's changed. I'm interested again, and I'm engaged, and I've got to work on a new set of bots. But you know what? Hey, it's going to it's strategy's different, and with the number of maps, it's not that many. You got to mix it up, and I think that makes it fun. So I'm on the pot. I'm an optimist when it comes to these things.
All the question about new parts and weapons going out is, if you have noticed, long time ago, like the best of the best parts used to be about 5,000 gold, or roughly, let's say the heavy parts were about $50, medium parts were about $25. But if you notice the last new parts, the Butch and Dark and Jesse, their prices have been increased. Like the medium part is costing about $50, and the heavy part is costing about $100. That's a big jump from what used to be like Fury or Lancelot, which were 5,000 gold. That's roughly maybe $40 to $50 for a heavy part. Now it's $100.
Are you guys able to actually buy those?
A lot of people actually spend money and purchase those parts.
Yeah, for the American bots, the event bots. You can drop a big chunk of change, and like a Butch will cost you about $100 if you want to just buy it outright. So
I have 2 of them, and I didn't spend anything on either of them.
Oh, Stew!
Wow.
Just listen to the elite, just disgustingness drip from his mouth. Yeah, Butch. Yeah, I've got like 7 of them. Yep. I've got 7 of them.
Those things will sell for like 4 million silver, though.
No big deal.
That's like pretty enticing.
Yeah, I was just tickled with 1. I was like, oh sweet, and I didn't really think anything of it at first, but then I was like, ooh, this thing's actually faster than the Fury and only has a few thousand less hit points. Oh man, I'm all about that. Plus 4 heavy weapons. That's awesome.
I think if that becomes mainstream, if they take it out of the events and let people buy it, that one's going to replace the Fury on the field. We're not going to see them. We're going to see those things everywhere.
I personally don't think they should do that. I think they should actually no more American bots for anybody. Now that I have one, I think they should just let's end the race. Just cut it off. I feel like only some of us should be entrusted with these bots, and that's it. Well, I feel like this has been a very productive show. I'm pretty sure that we have solved all of Pixonic's problems over the last hour here. Don't you guys feel like we've pretty much we've resolved everything? We should just probably be running.
Yeah,
the whole
it's true.
thing.
Just click send, and we accept payment. However,
absolutely, yeah.
I would say
let's do the company.
I would say let's do a mic drop, but I mean we're standing in this water in your tub, and that's
honestly, I'm not sure why Stu turned on the water in the tub and lit all these candles. I'm
it got weird.
I'm getting a little uncomfortable, but we're
Dude,
almost
I'm going
done.
To physical therapy. I like rubbing feet.
Well, okay,
I'm still looking for my pants.
At least.
Now we know why his name is Stew.
Yeah,
there's other meanings there.
Yeah, he's trying to persuade us with this whole he's a professional physical therapist. Okay, air quotes. But so now is the time in the show where I abuse you guys. I mean honor you guys. Stu is somewhat familiar with this because he's been honored before. Air quotes again. So normally at the end of the show we do 5 things that you didn't know about the particular guest. But I have 3 guests with me, and we didn't have enough money in the budget to do 5 things. So I'm just going to do 1 thing about each of you. The listeners and viewers out there, they may or may not know, and you can confirm or deny these things or just remain silently embarrassed. But let me start with Stu, since this isn't new territory for him. This way you'll get an idea of how this is going to go. I'll start with Stu. And now this is true. I have, as you know, this is a very famous, popular channel. I have literally billions of viewers and just hundreds of employees. It's quite an empire to manage. But we have a research department, and I asked them to come up with 1 thing that people didn't know about you guys. And this is what they found with old Stew Pendous here. Stew Pendous actually has the largest collection of My Little Ponies in North America. That's actually true. Not many people know this. Stu, any
true. I can post.
Yes.
I'll put a picture on my Facebook page.
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't hoping that would get out. That wasn't on my bucket list. But,
I've actually seen some of these pics, and let me tell you, Stu on a bearskin rug, surrounded by thousands of My Little Ponies. It's an image that's haunting. You'll never quite get it out of your head. So if he does post it,
you can't unthink that.
Yes, I would look away.
He's a brony, and we love him for it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'll take a good picture of that, and I'll put it on my Facebook page tonight. So
okay, thank you, Stu. So true. So the research department came through on that one. Wiggle Monster. I don't know if this has anything to do with your name and game or not, but we've been told that when you play the game, you don't actually use your hands. Do you care to explain how you're such an expert player, but yet somehow don't use your hands to play the game?
It's all about the feet, man. It's all about the feet.
Okay.
It's with your toes. That's the secret. That's how you get better.
My goodness.
We thought this was going to get X-rated for a second.
Woo,
that's the next
that could have
level
gone.
right there.
Yeah, that could have gone anywhere. But it turns out Wiggle Monster has the most dexterous toes of anyone that we've ever heard of. This is incredible.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, that's why I was rubbing his feet. So.
Well, there you go. You got to keep those things nimble and limber if that's what you're holding your phone or your tablet with, and using your. I guess your toes would be your.
You don't
thumbs.
want them to get tendonitis. I mean,
no,
you'd be done.
No, because then your trophies are going to take a major hit with if you get some tendonitis. Yeah, you got to get that massaged out. So Destroyer, you are actually best friends with the woman who is the voice of Siri in real life. Is this true? Is this like some Apple secret like for you guys? You're on a first name basis with Siri, I hear.
It's actually false.
That's not true.
I married her.
Oh, Siri is
that is
no way.
Yes, my wife is Siri.
That is a revelation. Now we're talking about the real human and not like the weird answer anything you ask like that movie where that guy fell in love with his operating system.
Anything.
Interesting.
It gets really awkward
when
I say Siri, make me a sandwich. It gets really uncomfortable.
Yes, this is honestly, I may not have another guest back from the iOS side of things because this whole Destroyer thing, this has just taken us down a dark path that we're not used to on this show. This is a family channel, and this is ominous.
Cortana, the side chick or something?
Oh yeah, we do. We have Cortana on the PC side. That's true. Mine is turned off because I frankly find it disturbing. I don't talk to her. That's just weird.
Well, she's always making snarky comments, and you know, sometimes I hear somebody's phone, and I'm like, "Yes, honey." What?
Yeah, that would be disturbing if you heard your wife's voice emanate from like every other man's phone. I don't know how you.
Yeah, in their pockets.
Yes, you must be a strong, confident man. Yes. Well, I think that we have come full circle. We started dark and disturbing, and we have ended dark and disturbing. So I think that automatically makes for a great show. I think this is going to be one of my best videos, one of my best my video podcasts ever. I mean, I'm sure that this will be billions of views. This is going to be very successful. And also, I wanted you guys to know that everyone, as a guest of the Center Beacon podcast, known as the Warcast, all guests receive a life-size cardboard cutout of Leonard Nimoy. So
I don't hold you to that.
Yeah, we pulled out all the stops. I didn't have the budget to do 5 things about each of you guys because we blew it all on cardboard cutouts of Leonard Nimoy. And let me tell you, those things are not cheap. So these are quality parting gifts y'all are getting. So I hope you appreciate that. All you got to do is just leave me your addresses, social security numbers, bank accounts, routing info, and I will get all of that to you as soon as I get all of those precious details of your personal lives. So yeah, that's going to do it. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening and watching. Like I said, there will be amazing flying graphics when you watch this too. And I would like to thank all of my guests. Again, this is really cool of them to sit down for like an hour and change and kind of intelligently, expertly discuss like all of these like really, cool little issues that we've got going on in the game and hopefully give something or give everyone something that's really kind of worth their time. You're mowing the lawn, you're doing dishes, whatever, you can sit down and you can listen to this and hear these perspectives from all these great players. Again, we had Stew Pendous from the eponymously named Stew Pendous channel, so be sure to check that out on the YouTubes. And we've got Ash, a.k.a. Wiggle Monster from Arc Clan, or who I think is currently soloing his way through the Android ranks. Right. But he's a great top-tier player, and if you run into him on the battlefield, you better look out. And then we've got our Dark Horse, the Destroyer from Vox Clan on iOS. And so really great group of guys, and I appreciate y'all coming on, and thanks very much for doing this with me.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been great. Thanks for having us.
All right, everyone. That is it for this edition of the Warcast. This has been a Center Beacon podcast. I appreciate you guys listening and watching my videos and liking, subscribing, and all those things. And as always, I will see you next time at the Center Beacon.